Welcome to the Traffic to Leads podcast. I'm your host, Ted Betancourt, and today I have Ron Latz from LegalFenix. Ron, tell me about yourself and how you got into this crazy world.
Thanks for having me, Ted. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to today's discussion. I got into legal about a decade and a half ago. I worked for Thomson Reuters, their fine law business. So that was when I was selling marketing and advertising, to lawyers and law firms. And after about a 5-year stint there, I ended up moving into a different space, still somewhat tied to legal, and had a handful plus of just some of my flagship clients that continued to reach out to me after about a year or so, asking me if they should renew certain products, if they should purchase new products. Hey, what is this? What is that? How much should it cost? And I was able to spin up my own kind of consulting business 7 or 8 years ago to just help the firms that had literally just become really good friends of mine. Mm-hmm. And then over the course of building that business, I was out on my own for a couple of years. I ended up partnering with another boutique, a smaller legal marketing agency, where I was brought in to build the customer success, digital strategist, and their outbound sales function. And that was a great experience, was able to work with a lot of new types of clients, build up a team. And just one of the challenges that I faced was really the inherent bias that comes along with working within an agency, since many of the times I'm suggesting or recommending the agency's products or services. So I really wanted to separate myself. I founded and rebranded LegalFenix, which was publicly announced just under a month ago. And I've been offering consulting and fractional CMO services, again, specifically to lawyers.
Awesome. So LegalFenix, you guys are an agency?
We are not a marketing agency. We do not sell SEO. We do not sell advertising, web design, development, social media management, nothing like that. We are a pure consulting and advisory firm and fractional CMO firm. So
Gotcha. So what does that mean for a law firm listening? So how do you help them? I know you said you help your law firm friends and kind of grow their firms. What does that relationship look like?
I mean, that relationship is a neutral engagement in which I am helping the law firm not allow agencies to pull the wool over their eyes. I'm ensuring that their investments are safeguarded. I mean, at the onset of most of these engagements, what we're really doing is nailing down the strategy.
Yep.
Ensuring that we've got goals and objectives in place, and that marketing strategy and the associated tactics are tied to the outcomes that the firm actually wants to achieve. Most of the times those are going to be revenue related, but still others have other growth desires, whether it's expanding office locations, hiring new attorneys, or even adding on a new practice area. But I'm put in there as an unbiased, vendor neutral resource, almost like a mediator, where I wedge myself directly between the firm and the agency, not only to restore trust within the agency relationship, but ensure that there is someone there that always has the law firm's best interests at heart.
Gotcha. So you will help law firms source and find agencies that kind of are best fit for their needs. Am I understanding that correctly?
Certainly. I'm constantly referring law firms to different types of marketing agencies, whether it's SEO, ads, or social, someone like yourself, where they're evaluating the addition of a new communication channel, as well as out of home. It really depends on what the firm is looking to accomplish. I allow them to make those decisions. On the fractional side of the house, when I'm really just given a budget and told, this is what we want to do, here's what we want you to achieve. I have a little bit more autonomy in those roles.
Fair. And are you helping, are you going so far as to helping on like the intake and optimizing that, and helping on kind of the higher level, like how much should I be spending in marketing? Is that kind of your realm too?
Yeah, I mean, we really dive deep into that, because the last thing I want one of my clients to do is invest a significant sum of money, hard-earned dollars, into a marketing channel, and they don't have intake or service on lock. So while I'm not necessarily going through a step-by-step process improvement exercise, I am digging into tools like dynamic call tracking software, intake management software, matter management systems, to try to get a better understanding of the firm's client's life cycle and identify any gaps that we have to make sure we plug up before we start sending all these dollars to the ad platforms.
Cool. And how do you find new clients in that world?
I've really bought into personal branding and producing my own content,
Yep.
specifically on LinkedIn, right?
Yep.
I am on some other social channels. I'm not nearly as active, but every single day I try to share some piece of information or an insight or something from my experience that's going to help a lawyer or a law firm kind of navigate the intricacies of what the legal marketing landscape has evolved into.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you have almost 10,000 followers on LinkedIn. You're pretty impressive on that channel. So what's something that if you're a small law firm, when you start working with a law firm, what's something that you typically see that can be a takeaway for firms? What's a big value add in terms of the knowledge you bring to the table that you're seeing when you're working with firms?
And I think two of the biggest things are their actual strategy is not outlined, meaning it's not written down, it is not specific, whether you want to use the term SMART goals or whatever it may be. You really should have what you're trying to achieve written in a document so that as you have new vendors come and joining the fold or new contractors or even internal and in-house resources, everybody can kind of read that document, get a current state of what you're trying to accomplish to get all on the same page. That's more from a team dynamic. When you're evaluating a new agency or you're working with a new vendor, I think a pitfall that many firms fall into is that you're not defining success at the forefront.
Yeah.
Right? An agency might think, I'm driving additional website traffic. That's going to be success. Or I'm writing 3 to 4 blog posts per month. I'm checking the boxes. I'm doing what the scope of services is outlined as. We should all be happy. That's not usually the case. And if you at the front define, how are we going to determine whether or not this engagement is successful and the specific data points or KPIs that we're going to track to hold both sides accountable?
Yeah.
I think that's a big miss. And that's where a lot of firms can really get themselves out of hot water if they start there instead of just going and doing something because they read a case study or they thought that their friend down the street who's been investing in SEO did such a great job that it could be good for them too.
Gotcha. And what are the KPIs that you look at for most firms? Are there a standard amount or standard ones, or do you just kind of vary per firm?
It does vary. A lot of my clients are focused on, achieving revenue outcomes. So we look at the average cost per qualified lead or opportunity, signups or retainers. A big one that we're also looking at, depending upon the channels that you're in, or your average cost per actions. So what did it cost for someone to actually call, text, chat, or submit a form? And then ultimately, we have, your overall acquisition costs. What does it actually cost to acquire these clients? Then we've got some benchmarks in place.
Mm-hmm.
Then we can start to take a look at improvements and see whether or not we need to pull optimization levers in order to, again, hit the target that we've got at the end of the road.
Fair. And I know this one gets, everyone has kind of a different opinion on this. Let's say you're a small firm, you're 5 years in, it's just yourself and, me, myself, and I. What percent of revenue should be spent on marketing activities, and what's a metric or a framework by which to evaluate that?
So depending upon, whose research you kind of read, believe, and trust, small businesses are on average anywhere between, call it 5 and 7% of annual revenue that's allocated towards marketing. Now,
Yep.
Before many of the personal injury firms kind of fall off their chair there, yes, the majority of those firms who are aggressively growth minded are investing significantly more than 5 to 7% of their annual revenue.
Yeah.
But that is one of the ways that firms decide, again, depending upon financial limitations, what can we throw into a market in order to try to generate business from individuals that, either don't know we exist
Mm-hmm.
or increase referrals from a pool or an audience of individuals that, whether it's current clients, previous clients, or other service professionals, can start to funnel us a little bit more business. Now, we talked about some of those key metrics just earlier. You can also back into this number based off of things like the lifetime value of specific clients or even your client acquisition costs to understand if it costs you $2,000 to acquire an MBA case and we need X amount of those cases in order to hit our revenue goal. That's another way you can kind of back into it, but you've got to make sure that data is on point, it's clean, data hygiene is important as well,
Mm-hmm.
before you start making financial decisions based off of information that could potentially be misleading or inaccurate.
Yeah. And let's say you're a small time law firm just getting started, you just want to spend your first five, $10,000. Where are you advising clients spend that money?
Listen, if you're just out of school, you don't really have a book of business, and you're not coming from an established firm already, I'm investing that $5,000 to $10,000 in good old fashioned pure business development efforts.
Yep.
Going out, I'm having lunches, I'm having coffees, I'm having dinners, I'm getting my name out there to the individuals that I know over time are going to allow me to start sourcing some referrals from them.
Yep.
If I want to get into some technology, listen, given my sales background, I always think that dollars spent on a good CRM system is going to help you keep your day-to-day organized, keep all of your notes organized, your contact records, and then any of the companies and associated opportunities that you are pursuing. I really don't know how people can operate a business without some sort of customer relationship management software. And I would put some dollars into that as well.
Are you talking about case management or more before they even become clients?
Yeah, I'm talking about on the front end, right? Like typically in this space, right? You have your Lawmatics, you have your Clio Grows, you have even your lead dockets. You have other systems as well that kind of bleed into the matter or case management software. But then like even non-legal tools, whether it's a Keep, a Copper, I'm a big fan of HubSpot, something to help organize all these peoples that you have specific touch points with. You can also use them to create a newsletter and start dripping and nurturing those relationships over time. But it's a two-way street, Ted. Like business development, relationship building, nurturing those relationships. Your referral sources, unfortunately, do forget about you. So you need to stay top of mind and ensure that the information that you're giving them is valuable and really makes their day-to-day a little bit easier and their life better in order for them to remember that you are the guy that you send all those referrals to.
Yeah. And how about when you're, the $2.5 to $5 million range? So, maybe you have a few partners or some associates, you're starting to get some cases, you're already a little bit more established, you have those relationships. And now where are you looking at? Is this where kind of the SEO, the PPC comes in, or at what point do you start focusing there?
Yeah, I mean, it's really all going to tie back again to what the goals and the objectives are. I know I sound like a broken record when it comes down to that, but we've got to make sure that the marketing spend is being deployed in a way that's helping us achieve whatever it is we want to accomplish. I think at that point, now that you're a little bit more established, right? You not saying you've got a war chest, but you're able to start putting some chips into play into specific marketing channels. Your website is going to be kind of your storefront. So we need to ensure that that's designed in a way that is user-friendly. People can find the information that they are looking for, and most importantly, easily contact you. But when you start looking at like SEO, paid ads, right, it's very dependent upon your practice area and the specific market that you are in and the competitive landscape. So if you're getting into digital and you want to start playing, with big bad Google here, I would recommend getting your Google business profile in order, right? Properly categorized, ensuring that you've got your social profiles added, your primary, secondary, and tertiary categories, productizing services. Really blow that profile out as much as you possibly can and don't leave any field, incomplete. From that point, right? Like we talked earlier, I spend my time on marketing in producing content and sharing on LinkedIn. That's another channel that you can consider. If you've got a little bit of investment dollars that you want to start throwing at SEO, right? That's going to, for the most part, likely be a content play where you're trying to build the foundation for some of the key terms in which you want to show up for when people put them into the search engines. Outside of that, the more aggressive firms that want to start to diversify their approach, you can look at the ads market for sure. But again, depending upon your practice area, there could be some it's cost prohibitive in some markets. So if you're in a major market, LA, Vegas, Chicago, Manhattan, Orlando, Austin, right? It's going to be challenging not to be able to go into that market with a significant spend and being able to sustain that spend for at least 6 to 9 months. So you could start collecting data and really ensure that the unit economics are working in your favor.
Gotcha. And when you're talking about the SEO, that side, and since you source the SEO for the firms, when a law firm says to you, all right, let's look at different agencies, what are you looking at in different agency proposals to make you pull the trigger with one over another?
Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is understand the situation in which the law firm is coming from, right? Like, for example, a law firm that has had an in-house resource and now is looking to outsource, right? You're probably going to want to go to one of the smaller boutique agencies, because going to the big box, you're probably going to be one of 120 or 150 accounts that an account manager needs to manage. And you're not going to get that warm, lovey-dovey touch and feel that you're accustomed to having someone in-house.
Yep.
Now, if you're used to working with some of the larger agencies and you've got some pieces in place, maybe a marketing coordinator or even like a director of marketing to help manage some of those relationships, that's going to open up a lot of other opportunities and different types of agencies that you can really participate in. The other thing that I'm going to look at is, right, there are some agencies that are single-threaded. They only focus on one channel or another.
Yep.
Then you have agencies that have more of the agency of record model where everything is underneath one roof.
Mm-hmm.
So, once I get a feel of the culture and the style of the firm, I'm going to make at least 2 to 3, if not 4 recommendations of different agencies that they're then going to vet themselves.
Yep.
They've got to have a great relationship with them. They're, especially on the consulting and advisory front of the business, my clients are still managing those relationships with those vendors. They're managing their in-house team. So they've got to make sure that this works for them and that communication cadence matches what they need to do. There's also some firms out there that, they offer exclusivity. So I might recommend a firm, but they could be locked out of a market. So we've got to look at other options as well.
Gotcha.
So I'm looking at all of those things before they even send me a proposal to review.
Okay. So there's a lot of factors involved. Doesn't sound like 1 or 2 that you just lean on all the time.
Now, there's a lot that we do on the upfront. And then, when you talk about the proposal, right, like the things that I'm looking for, are they offering it? Do they offer a quality service, right? And is it being offered at a market competitive rate?
Yep.
The proposal's kind of custom. Are they boilerplate or templated, right? Like I'm getting then the feedback. If we went to said agency to talk about a specific type of campaign, did they actually provide a recommendation about that? Or were they trying to, I'm not necessarily saying distract them with the shiny object, but they don't need to necessarily buy something that's not going to help them kind of stay on the path that we're on to achieve those goals.
Yeah. So I guess kind of the next question is, I know you're good at helping law firms. Why law firms? I know you said you started with fine law and that was kind of your first entry in the legal world. What kind of attracted you to law firms overall?
I mean, initially I enjoyed just speaking to new firms that were really putting themselves in the position to help individuals.
Yep.
Going through some of the roughest times of their lives.
Yeah.
I can't say that I also don't enjoy like the challenge. I'm an incredibly competitive person, and this is a highly competitive market.
Mm-hmm.
So I do enjoy kind of partnering up with a law firm and kind of putting together a go-to-market strategy to hopefully dominate said market.
Yeah.
That's what really excites me. But as far as giving back and really helping individuals find my clients when they're going through some of the toughest times of their lives, that's something that I do truly enjoy.
And what are some kind of thanks for that answer. And what are some of the newer things you're seeing in the legal, either operations or marketing side, that you haven't seen in the past? I know a lot of people are excited about ChatGPT and the changes there. Is there anything else aside from ChatGPT, or is that pretty much the dominant new force on the field?
The pandemic really helped accelerate the use of technology adoption. So I love where we have come over the past 3 to 4 years. Like there weren't even people, Ted, as you likely know, not using chat. They didn't have online payment. They didn't have online scheduling. To have a consult or a dep in a Zoom room or trial, like it was something that was almost unfathomable, right?
Yeah.
So I love the fact that we have really accelerated over the past couple of years, rightfully so. Yes, ChatGPT, all the AI components and modules that are being added on to specific case management software, intake management tools. I do think that it's great. I caution firms, again, not to get distracted by the shiny object. Now, the ChatGPT specifically, I think it's an incredible tool that can help with marketing ideation, testing out different taglines, summarizing if they have a podcast, specific show notes, looking for new ideas for content. I would caution about putting any personal information, especially client information. And anytime you use these tools, you got to audit, you have to review, you have to edit it, because these things are hallucinating quite frequently. Like you look at AI overviews, you know, most of these results are incorrect.
Yeah.
So, you know, you really have to take it with a grain of salt, if you will, so that you don't get yourself into any trouble.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we're seeing on our end as well. All right, ChatGPT, where's Google going? I know Google is still aside from the referrals and building business the old fashioned way, most firms are still using Google, be it organic, local, paid search. Where do you see Google going in 2 years, 5 years, or what's the future there? Not to put you on the spot or anything, Ron.
No, but I mean, at the rate we were going, it's like the whole page is going to be a paid ad, right? You have LSAs, ads. You still have a nice little ad tucked in between the local pack, right? And then now with all the user-generated content, AI overviews, and forums occupying such a significant space, real estate on that search engine result page, right? Like you're scrolling 30, 40% down of your browser before you even hit an organic result. So, you know, you've seen some changes even to Google Business Profile where they're allowing you to start inputting your social profiles.
Yep.
I think that's going to, you know, start to identify the authorship of additional content, but then you have the legal directories that are being used as some of the citations in the drop downs of AI overviews, or at least we saw it with SGE before it was turned to AI overview. I haven't seen that as frequently now, but you know, we're really seeing a disruption into what that page looks like. I'm hopeful that organic and accurate user-generated content does find its way a little bit closer to the fold, if you will. But you know, who really knows how that's going to continue to advance? It's just more and more paid ad units on top of paid ad units.
Yeah. And for our listeners at home, good takeaway. So if they want to get into paid ad units, are there any keys to doing that successfully?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be able to sustain at least an ongoing investment for, you know, 3 to 6 months likely, especially on the paid ad front. Now, depending upon your practice area, the amount that you're going to invest is going to fluctuate greatly. And I think anytime you consider working with the LSA ad unit, you need to have reviews. You need to have your call answering on lock, right? You can't be missing calls, and you've got to be able to have someone allocated to make sure that they are updating that back end user interface with all the information, marking meetings booked and archiving them, just so that you don't get put in the Google's doghouse and have your LSAs vanish for what seems like forever.
Yeah, and we've seen that happen to clients in the past. Awesome. Well, Ron, if someone wants to find out more about LegalFenix, where can they find you?
You can check out LegalFenix.com, LegalFenix, or you can find me on LinkedIn posting some legal marketing tips and insights almost every single day.
Awesome. Yeah, and you have a great LinkedIn profile. I'm going to share that in the show notes as well. But Ron, it's been a pleasure having you on today, and look forward to staying up with your work.
It was a pleasure. Thanks so much, Ted. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ron.